Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our webinar today, 5 Reasons Why Engineers Spec Nortec. My name's Naomi Cassidy, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. We'll get started in just a few minutes. I want to give everyone a bit more time to get logged in and get settled. At this point, you should be able to see our title page on your screen. If you can't, you may need to click the Reconnect button at the bottom center of your screen. Our webinar today is going to run about 45 minutes. At any point during today's session, if you wish to ask a question, feel free to type it in the question area located in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. We'll be addressing all questions at the end of the 45-minute session. Some of you may have colleagues that weren't able to join us today, but they haven't missed out. We'll be sending all registered attendees a link to today's event to review or share with anyone that may not have been able to join us today. So, I'd officially like to start our webinar, 5 Reasons Why Engineers Spec Nortec. I'm delighted to have sitting with me today 2 talented and knowledgeable presenters. The first is Mr. Andrew Patterson, an application manager with Nortec Humidity. And the second is Mr. Pascal Labelle, a consulting engineer with Goodkey, Weedmark & Associates. So at this time, I'm going to turn things over to Andrew.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrew Patterson. Thank you, Naomi, for that introduction. I hope you guys get a lot of value from this webinar. We're going to talk a little bit about what sets us apart as Nortec in the world of humidification. Again, the purpose of this talk, how Nortec is working to improve your bottom line, essentially offering tools to you and ensuring the reps that you guys go to for Nortec solutions can provide answers quickly and efficiently. Understanding the relationship between humidification, indoor air quality, and health and wellness. We're going to look at some studies that have been around for some time, as well as some new studies that show the benefits of having the correct relative humidity. We want to gain knowledge on the impact humidification has on applications such as healthcare, printing, manufacturing, and offices. And there really are so many applications where RH is important. Having the correct RH is important. We're going to discover some engineering tools that will make your job easier, and review some energy rebates that can be passed along to your customers. And this really is an exciting topic where everyone wins. Looking at a high level at some of our customers, here we obviously see some of the big customers that we have, but we have customers from multinational corporations down to mom and pop shops that need humidifiers. We see here Google and Facebook, data centers applications, GE and Caterpillar in the manufacturing sectors, the Smithsonian and the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art for museums and the preservation of artifacts, HP and Fujitsu in the printing industry, GM, Ford, Toyota in automotive, Bayer, Pfizer, and Dow in different laboratories. Essentially just wanted to give you guys a look at some of our customers. There are a few levels in the chain between us, the OEM, and the end user that I just showed in the previous slide. One of those links in the chain is you, the consulting engineer. You guys specify manufacturers to ensure a job gets done right. Factors that affect your decision would undoubtedly include quality, ease of installation, support, price, and the relationships of trust that you guys have established in your network. Well, the proof is in the pudding, so I decided to show the data with a pie chart. Sorry for the lame joke. In any case, querying an industry database from 2012 to 2016 showed that Nortec was specified for humidification jobs approximately half of the time. This is great news for us, but we definitely want to grow that even more. Hopefully with this webinar, benefit of going with Nortec. And one last thing to note, Munters had a bit under 3,000 jobs spec'd from 2012 to date. So our share, as far as this pie chart would be concerned, is a little under 40% if you include Munters. Those are our customers, and now I wanted to show you at a quick glance several of our products. When I started at Nortec about 4 years ago, there was no way I realized that there was so much to humidification. There are so many types of humidifiers, the isothermal types, such as electrode, resistive element, gas, or central steam, as well as the adiabatic type, such as compressed air and water, evaporative media, high pressure water, or hybrid humidifiers. One of the benefits of Nortec is that we have the full suite of products. We don't sell humidifiers per se, but we sell humidification solutions, and every job is different. We're going to look at what makes the different humidifier technologies unique in a bit more detail later on, but first I wanted to invite Pascal Abel to speak for a few moments. Pascal Abel is a senior mechanical designer for the consulting engineering firm in the Ottawa area. He has 15 years of experience in this industry and has been involved in projects pertaining to office buildings, hospitals, airports, industrial plants, and more. Again, lots of great qualities, but one of the best qualities of all is that in many cases, he chooses Nortec for humidification. I'm going to turn the audio over to him so that he can talk for a few minutes about why he chooses Nortec.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk here. Our clients expect the consulting industry to be up to speed with the modern technology and all that's available out in the industry. So in order to do our jobs efficiently, it's required that we do an ongoing continual analysis of all the products, all the equipment available in the industry. So the reasons I'm going to stipulate here is has to do with how we review all the products. Now, on a case-by-case basis, depending on the equipment, the criteria are a little different, but there's three main reasons why we select one product versus another. The first being the quality of the construction, and if the product was designed to be properly maintained. Does it meet all the required codes and whatnot? The Nortec product line in our applications has always met and exceeded our requirements there. Second of all, we start looking at the design system tools offered to us by manufacturers. Humidifications are not products, it's humidification systems as a whole. Nortec has provided us the assistance, the information to ensure our designs can be easily implemented by contractors and to minimize any risk during commissioning and equipment startup. So that has been very, very beneficial to us. But the most important thing for us is the post-installation after-sales service. We look with our clients, making sure they feel they've got quality value for their investment. We hope to see little to no issues after installation, but in the event there is an issue, we are very, very, very interested in seeing how manufacturers deal with these issues, how proactive they are in addressing our clients' needs. As I said, over the years, Nortec has shown its true colors very well in all of these aspects, and this is the reason why I choose to design my systems using Nortec products.
Thanks so much, Pascal. Yeah, I really appreciate that to get your point of view as far as Nortec and what sets us apart. As an aside, we do have a bit over 100 people on this webinar. If at any point you see that the video is lagging a little bit behind the audio, there is a reconnect button that you can click at the bottom of the page, and that should get you back up to real time. So back to the presentation slides. I just wanted to finish describing who Nortec is. Later on in the presentation, I'll describe the concept of humidification and then key in on some tools that are available that set us apart. I'll finish the presentation off with some applications before we open up a Q&A session. So Nortec began over 40 years ago with an idea to bring electrode humidifiers to the market here in North America. The first production setup was in a janitor's closet, but quickly grew from there to now being part of the leading humidification company worldwide. Our office in Ottawa, Canada is shown on the right, but note that the pictures were taken in autumn, a few weeks before the snow came. Yes, I'm Canadian, and yes, I play hockey, but I'm also okay with the melting snow giving way to spring. We're owned by the Condair Group, a humidification company headquartered in Switzerland, and the synergies are many. In some cases, we design products here in Ottawa that we have a high level of understanding and competency about, while interfacing with colleagues abroad to ensure all requirements are taken into account. In other cases, the design is led in Europe, who will interface with us here in Canada to ensure all requirements are included in the design. As you can see, the global reach of the Condor Group is extensive, being present in more than 50 countries worldwide. Here you see the various key locations for the Condor Group, starting with Nortec in Ottawa, Canada. We also have a location in Sturtevant, Wisconsin, in between Green Bay and Chicago, that specializes in direct room systems involving both high pressure water as well as compressed air and water systems. Our Sturtevant location also has a technical service team that provides installation and commissioning of our systems. In Europe, we have key locations in Denmark, England, Switzerland, and Germany. European manufacturing is actually in the process of being unified in Norderstedt, Germany, just north of Hamburg. Finally, you see our Chinese location in Beijing. Some engineering and manufacturing is done at this location as well as sales. In all cases, this location just serves the local Chinese market. Closer to home, how might you guys interact with Nortec? The main way is through our distribution network made up of independent representatives. The sizes of these reps vary from multi-billion-dollar companies to companies with literally 1 to 4 employees. In all cases, we make sure that you guys are getting the support you need and expect from a Nortec rep. We have coverage from C to C with 89 sales offices in the US and 15 sales offices in Canada. Additionally, our presence in Latin America is handled from here in Ottawa with 9 Latin American sales offices. Sales calls to South America are always met enthusiastically, especially when it gets you out of the North American cold down to the South American summer. Nortec and the Condor Group want to be known as the global leader in humidification and evaporative cooling. Our company vision reads productivity, sustainability, and health through air and water. And the overarching statement from our mission statement reads, we understand our customers' specific needs and undertake to advise and support them professionally, delivering energy-optimized solutions for productivity, sustainability, and health. And you see here some keywords: productivity, sustainability, energy optimization. In all cases, the end user is asking for humidification because it gives them a payoff. In some cases, such as an office, the payoff comes from lower absenteeism rates due to lower employee sickness, from having the correct relative humidity in the space. In other cases, like with a paint booth, the payoff comes from increased yield and better quality or adherence of the paint to its substrate. In still other cases, like just a regular home, the payoff comes from a happy mom whose house is comfortable, and the prevalence of dry throats, noses and eyes, bloody noses, itchy skin are all reduced from having a humidifier. And to quote Dr. Phil, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. I'm going to take a step back and define humidity. There are really 2 main ways that people describe humidity: absolute and relative. Absolute humidity refers to the actual amount of moisture in the air. It's typically expressed per a given quantity of air, such as pounds of moisture per pound of dry air. Where we see humidity expressed more often than not, though, is as relative humidity. And this relative term refers to temperature. As temperature goes up, relative humidity goes down, and vice versa. This is because air at higher temperatures have a greater capacity to hold moisture. Take the example on the screen, for instance. We have a cup on the left-hand side that represents a volume of air at 35 degrees Fahrenheit or 2 degrees Celsius. With the amount of water or absolute moisture that's in this cup brings it to 100% relative humidity. But if we were to put that exact same amount of moisture into air, represented by a cup here, at 72 degrees Fahrenheit or 22 degrees Celsius, we see that that absolute amount of moisture only brings the relative humidity to 25%. This really is the key definition or the key concept of humidity. Looking at a psychrometric chart, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with, we could take an example of the air or the current situation here in Ottawa. Today, we're approximately at around 41 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity might range from between 40 to 50, 60, or even up to 80% relative humidity. So we have a point here, And then the space point would maybe be 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius and 55% RH, typical for an office application. So we need to do two things. We need to heat the air that we're bringing from outside, and we need to humidify it. On the psychrometric chart, we see the heating process by moving directly to the right, and the humidification process by simply going up. This is an isothermal humidification process that we're seeing here because there's no change in temperature in this airstream. Isothermal technology, or isothermal steam units, there are several of them. We have gas steam humidifiers, electric steam humidifiers, which include electrode or resistive element, as well as live steam if there's boiler steam already present in a building. The other general category of humidifiers are adiabatic humidifiers. You can think of this like a waterfall, or like we use the concept of adiabatic humidification or evaporation through sweating. In sweating, we're taking the energy that is around us to evaporate the sweat that gets onto our skin. And with that, we see a decrease in temperature of our bodies. Adiabatic humidifiers include evaporative media humidifiers, nozzles, and high pressure water. Looking at the difference between these two technologies, on the psychrometric chart, we see with the purple arrow going essentially directly vertically up, that is an isothermal process of humidification. Whereas an adiabatic process would see an increase in humidification as well, since we're also moving left in the green arrow, we're seeing a decrease in temperature. The reason for this, like I mentioned, the example of sweating, is because to change from a liquid to a gas, the water is going to take energy that it finds around it. In this case, it's around 1,000 BTU per pound per hour of water that's evaporated. That's what's consumed essentially by an adiabatic process. In metric terms, if we're looking at liters per hour, it's around 0.7 kilowatts that are absorbed for every liter per hour or kilogram per hour of water that are evaporated. This really is the benefit of adiabatic humidification versus isothermal. We're not only getting an increase in humidity, but we're also getting a decrease in temperature. We have to use that to our advantage. So if we look at the condition that we just looked at in Ottawa, and maybe add a summertime in Las Vegas, maybe the indoor set point in that case would be a little bit higher, 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 25 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity would stay at 55%. But the outdoor air is a little bit warmer than it is here in Ottawa, 94 degrees Fahrenheit or around 34 degrees Celsius, and quite dry in that area. In this case, it is absolutely ideal for an adiabatic process because we're going to increase the humidity as well as decrease the temperature. And what that's going to do is going to decrease the amount of mechanical cooling that we need from our air handler. And this really is, like I mentioned, the benefit of adiabatic humidification. So looking at our suite of products, as far as isothermal humidifiers go, we have electrode units, we have resistive element units, we have units that run on gas, or like I mentioned before, central steam humidifiers. If we have a boiler steam already, we can directly inject that into the airstream, or if there are any additives in that boiler that we don't want to inject directly into the airstream, we have a steam to steam unit. In that case, the central steam is going to go through a heat exchanger that's submerged in a water tank, which is going to boil that water, which in turn is clean steam. Adiabatic humidifiers, like the ones that you see here, they vary. We have in-duct applications like you see on the left with the Nortec ME, essentially a media evaporative humidifier. We have high-pressure nozzle systems that go directly in the duct. This is almost always attached to a droplet separator that goes right after this installation. If you combine those technologies, we see here a hybrid, which is low pressure and evaporation. That's the Nortec DL, which is a relatively new product that is really gaining some momentum here in North America. We also see direct room systems on the right, including high pressure nozzle systems or compressed air and nozzle systems. some more portable units like the mobile evaporator or a rotary disc atomizer round out our product suite. So as you can see here, this really is one of the benefits of Nortec, is that we offer all sorts of products for all sorts of different applications and all sorts of different projects. Whichever project you have, I'm sure that Nortec has a humidification solution that's right for that project. So that's it as far as technology goes. I wanted to jump over to tools, some tools that we have available for you guys and how that's going to benefit you guys. The first thing is our agent network. Like I showed in a previous slide, we have agent coverage all over the USA and all over Canada. So wherever you guys are located, we have someone nearby that can help you with direct support. Here at the factory in Ottawa, Canada, we have no less than 7 application managers, which you guys can contact directly if you have any pre-sales or even post-sales support. As far as service is concerned, our Wisconsin office offers installation support and commissioning, and we do have a technical service department here at Nortec that can help you or your customers with any issues they have post-installation. So people, that's definitely the first tool that's available to you guys. Our website, a lot has gone into the website, and I wanted to highlight a few things here. If you just go to our website, you would see the top banner, and this really is where you guys can branch out into all sorts of different tools. On the far left, in the Humidifiers tab, we have all of our products. Each product has its own page, and you can see the benefits, some applications, or some references where we install those products. Going to the right, we have a Find a Local Nortec Rep link. From there, you can obviously find your local Nortec rep, something that could be very useful for you guys even after this webinar. The download section is another tab that I wanted to highlight. Here we have all sorts of submittal information available to you guys, installation manuals, case studies, all sorts of things are included in that download section. It's definitely very handy. And finally, the application section is another one that could be of definite use for you guys. As you can see, all sorts of different applications. I'm going to show them here on the next slide. Here are just some of the applications that we're involved in, but some of the ones that we wanted to highlight here on the website. So you could click into any of these applications and get a full page of information, some references of where we have installations in that industry. And one final thing that I even wanted to point out is this little link here, Nortec World References. If you guys have a project in a particular industry, you can even look here to see what other similar projects we have installations in, not only in North America, but globally. You can see what type of technology was used for that installation in that industry. You can get some pictures of the installations and all sorts of things. It's a very good tool that you guys can see some similar projects as to what you guys are doing. Another online tool that I wanted to show you guys was Nortec Help. The URL is there at the top, www.nortechelp.com. And this is free online software used by sales agents, contractors, consulting engineers, and lots of other people as well. This really is one of the main tools that we use here at Nortec. There's a full suite of load sizing where you can put in all of your project's data points and get a humidification load. From there, it can point you directly to product selection, whether it's an in-space or in-duct humidifier, whether it's an isothermal or an adiabatic humidifier. If you don't want to go through a load sizing project, it also is essentially our online catalog. We don't send out paper catalogs anymore, but we do have this available online. And from here, you can also see submittal information, installation manuals, all sorts of things, and links to other parts in our website. And one thing that internally is very useful for us and our sales agents is that they have direct order entry. So this is something where we have linked this online tool to our internal ERP system so that there's less processing time, and essentially you guys get your units faster. couple views of Nortec help. On the left-hand side, you can see a typical load sizing page where all the data inputs are required. And on the right, we see essentially what was inputted in the form of a psychrometric chart. You can download this, you can export it, or do whatever you'd like. There are parameters also where you can see and drill down all the parameters that the software has used to calculate the load, and also a schematic that shows you essentially what's going into the space, how much of the air is being recirculated, how much of the air is being ejected to the outside of the building. Again, according to the inputs that the user made. This is really an invaluable tool. Again, the URL is www.nortechelp.com. And I wanted to show you guys that even you guys can log in and register. You can register your own account if you'd like. As I show here on the right-hand side, just click register, put in your information, you'll get your own account. Or if you don't want that commitment, you can just log in as a guest. And you can check out a lot of the features that I've described without even registering. Another online tool that I wanted to showcase for you guys are BIM models that we have available. The website for this, to get to these models, is www.bimobject.com. It used to be handled by Seek Autodesk, but the URL recently changed. This can be an invaluable tool when the projects are being designed, when buildings are being designed. You can actually take the humidifier and put it in, add electrical connections, add the piping supplies, anything that's required in order to see what it looks like in the space that you guys are designing. And as you can see, we have not every product available. We definitely have most of our products available. If you go today to bimobject.com, you can see them all there. You can search under the Brands tab for Nortec. Another tool I wanted to showcase to you guys is called Mentor 3D. This is a tool that is currently in process of being launched to the market fully, but it's essentially a hands-on procedure training and skills validation tool. So it's a fully interactive and immersive 3D environment. So going back to our Mentor 3D tool, we have several of our products currently live in that tool, including the Nortec EL, which is an electrode steam humidifier and one of our most popular humidifiers. In there we have high voltage wiring, low voltage or control wiring, plumbing installation, steam line installation, all sorts of different things that the user can interact with and gain training on. Another tool I wanted to highlight to you guys are professional development units. Right now, we're definitely involved and active in providing PDUs to you guys as consulting engineers. We're definitely active in getting to your offices and doing lunch and learns. In fact, in some states, New York, New Jersey, Florida, and Maryland, presentations and the presenters themselves must be validated by the state in advance. And we've done that validation and accreditation already. And we have a presentation available in case you would like that. You can always get in touch with us or one of our Nortec reps and get one of those presentations scheduled. Another tool I wanted to highlight were energy rebates. Here I have a case study for a printing facility in upstate New York. The project was driven by quality control to address dust from the furnace exhaust. And in the end, a direct room system was supplied and installed, which was up to 2,000 pounds per hour with a high pressure water spray system. In this case, we reduced the winter cooling load by 170 tons. And really that was the reason that NYSERDA, which is one of the organizations or associations in New York, in the state of New York, offered 50% of the project cost as a refund to the customer. And that simply was because the humidification system that they needed to have anyways, instead of being an isothermal system, because it was an adiabatic system, all of that mechanical cooling was saved. We didn't have to do it with this customer. And so because of that, it was seen as an environmentally responsible choice, an energy efficient choice, and in the end, 50% of the project cost was refunded to the customer. And this is, like I was mentioning before, one of the situations where really everyone wins. The agent wins, the the OEM wins, NYSERDA wins, and the environment wins. Everyone really wins, and the end customer as well. Looking at some of these energy rebates, again, is one of the main categories is looking at the difference between an isothermal system and an adiabatic system. In many geographic regions, it does make sense. In some, it doesn't necessarily make sense. But if it does, there may be an energy rebate program available. I want to highlight here a website called desireusa.org, DSIREUSA.org. And here we have compiled in an internal document some of those programs that are available. In many cases, like I mentioned, it looks at the difference between adiabatic and isothermal humidification. And in other cases, it looks at using gas, natural gas, that is also a tool or an energy source that is viewed positively. And so there are many rebates available for that as well. The last thing I wanted to showcase to you guys is our Nortec Roadshow. This is a 28-foot long mobile trailer that goes all across North America from January 1st all the way to December 31st. It showcases Nortec's entire humidifier and evaporative cooling product line with interactive displays, with actual production units there, and an education hub. Again, you can go on to our website, humidity.com, and click on Find Your Local Nortec Representative in order to book this or ask if this could come to one of your offices. So I was going to have a poll, but I think we are going to skip over that poll for the sake of time. That is the end of our tools section. I wanted to now talk a little bit about some of the applications that we're involved in. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it really is astounding how many applications there are for humidification that you don't even realize. You see here on the screen a look at some of our applications that you can see in our documentation in the product handbook that's available online. I'm going to talk about some of these. The first, manufacturing. In this case, it's typically a process that requires the need for humidification. Looking at a few different manufacturing processes, electronics assembly or high tech. In many cases, the ESD or the electrostatic discharge, we need to minimize that. And lots of studies have shown that increasing the relative humidity is one of the easiest and fastest and most effective ways to reduce electrostatic discharge. When handling electronics and circuit cards, this has obvious consequences. Having the correct relative humidity also helps as far as reducing the amount of brittle components and with desoldering issues that might happen along the production line. Injection molding is another manufacturing process where the correct relative humidity is really crucial. Dimensional stability of the parts that come out of the molds are going to be greatly affected by the ambient conditions around that tool, namely temperature and relative humidity. Finally, paint booths, another application that I mentioned previously. This is a very special one, and relative humidity set points are typically in the area of 60 to 85%, typically a lot higher than just a normal office application. But paint booths require this for bonding effectiveness and to reduce the amount of scrap from the painting process. One of the installations that we've been involved in was a high pressure water system at Beckman Coulter. You can see here they make biomedical laboratory instruments, and in this case our humidification system was exactly what they needed. Another application, offices and condominiums. In this case, we're humidifying for people, reducing the prevalence of airborne illnesses, dry throat, nosebleeds, dehydration, increased comfort and productivity, and reducing the amount of electrostatic shocks. On the right-hand side on this slide, you see something called the Stirling chart or the Stirling-Schofield chart. This was developed a long time ago, but it's really paved the way and been the cornerstone for us as far as humidifying for people. You see the prevalence on the y-axis of different things like bacteria, viruses, fungi, and mites, and you see the prevalence of those with different relative humidity levels. The ideal range has been named here between 40 and 60%. Higher than that, you can get some issues, and even lower than that, you can get some issues. Finally, for offices and condominiums, and expanding that to the residential world, humidifying for wood products. Sometimes there's artwork or hardwood flooring in someone's home that needs to be at the correct relative humidity level. Without it, there could definitely be some cracking or warping, and typically warranty would be void in a lot of those cases for those products. I wanted to show a chart here that really shows the need of humidification as far as the winter months are concerned. Typically, we call the winter months the humidification season, and this chart definitely shows you why. On the bottom, we see air at different temperatures, air coming in from the outside into a building. And on the left-hand column, we see this air at different relative humidity percentages. When that air comes into a building and is heated up, the relative humidity is going to automatically go down. And this is just because of the laws of physics. So if we take here the example that's shown, air at an external temperature of 0 degrees Fahrenheit or approximately -18 Celsius and 50% RH. So this is a good winter day. If we bring that air into a space and heat it up, the relative humidity is going to go all the way down to 3%. And you can see here, nowhere on this chart are we reaching even 30%, let alone the ideal range of 40 to 60%. As far as offices and condominiums go, here are a couple of applications. The United States Embassy here in Ottawa, they're outfitted with some resistive steam humidifiers. And we have some other applications later on in that space. Moving on to healthcare, we see here a reference at the Fred Hutchinson Hospital in Seattle. There are a lot of reasons for humidifying in hospitals, and one of the main ones really is people. We have a local champion by the name of Dr. Stephanie Taylor, who is, like I say, our champion for relative humidity in the healthcare industry. She was a Harvard-trained physician who has 30 years of experience as a pediatric oncologist, as well as a master's in architecture. And those two disciplines and experience really position her very well to have good insight into this issue of having the correct relative humidity in hospitals. She has talked a lot about the link between relative humidity in hospitals and HAIs, or hospital-acquired infections. Some of those infections include C. difficile, VAP, or SSI. What's been found is that the ideal range is really 40%. Less than that, even down to 35%, and you're going to see a definite change in the prevalence of viruses and a lot of airborne bacteria, fungi, and viruses. There was a study that was done that looked at a variety of variables as far as a patient inside of a room. Temperature, traffic, outdoor air, room pressurization, light intensity, CO2, and relative humidity, among other parameters that were tracked. Between all those parameters, it was relative humidity that was found to have the strongest correlation, inverse correlation, I should say, with hospital-acquired infections. You can see here the graph, as we reach over 40% relative humidity, just in some of those summer months, that's when the prevalence of HAIs was the lowest. And the relationship shows a very strong inverse correlation. One of the main reasons for this is because airborne particles stay in the air for much, much longer depending on their size. At 100 micron diameter, airborne particles will stay in the air for less than 10 seconds. At 3 micron diameter, they stay in the air for around 1.5 hours. And at half a micron diameter, 41 hours, or almost 2 full days. If an airborne particle drops to the ground, it's then easy to get rid of that particle by normal cleaning procedures. If it stays in the air for up to 2 days, it's obvious to see that a cough or a sneeze can make someone sick even days afterwards. Note that viruses typically have diameters of between 0.02 and 0.4 microns, bacteria between 0.3 and 60 microns, and mold spores between 10 and 30 microns. Another application I wanted to highlight were data centers. Higher relative humidity levels decrease the prevalence of static electricity, like we mentioned before, and that definitely has implications in the data center world. Another implication is adiabatic humidification. As we mentioned, we're going to increase the relative humidity in such cases, and we're also going to decrease the temperature. This has two positive effects as far as data centers are concerned. ASHRAE recommends a humidity level of around 42 degrees Fahrenheit, dew point, and 60% RH, with an allowable range of between 20 and 80%. We see that a lot of the times it is the manufacturers or the owners of the data centers that are pushing for a high relative humidity, even though the ASHRAE standard goes down to 20%. Another application I wanted to showcase was print, the print industry. Some key factors that relative humidity has an effect on are the dimensional stability of paper. Too high relative humidity or too low relative humidity are going to warp the paper, and then there may be feed issues as the paper goes into the printer. Another item that is going to affect feed is electrostatic. And as we mentioned before, electrostatic goes down as relative humidity goes up. Increasing relative humidity in the space is also going to decrease the dust that accumulates from the process. Adiabatic cooling is very oftentimes used in print industries and print projects because of the heat load that printers are gonna emanate. And finally, printer manufacturers oftentimes require a particular humidity control. Here we have just a little screenshot from a manufacturer, one of the major manufacturers of printers, and we see a minimum relative humidity of 15% and maximum of 85, but a recommended range of 45 plus or minus 10. In some cases, certain manufacturers have been known to not provide technical support unless it's clear and known that a printer installation has humidification control. Here's one application in the print industry, seed in North America. This is a very large manufacturing plant that serves the cup market in a lot of the restaurant industry in the USA and in Canada, in addition to lots of other things. One final application that I wanted to showcase for you guys was the Arctic Research Facility. So this again was just finally to showcase the global reach that we have here at Nortec as part of the Condor Group. This is a humidification for scientists and other occupants of the Halley 4 research station in the Arctic. In this case, it's humidification strictly for people, drying of eyes, skin, nose, and mouth, as well as reducing electrostatic shocks. In this case, the incoming air can be as low as minus 65 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 54 degrees Celsius. And like the table showed before, that would essentially lead to 0% relative humidity in that space. One interesting thing to note is that snow meltwater is used to feed the resistive element humidifiers that are located in the different offices and research stations. Due to time, I'm just going to skip over the rest of the applications and close off with one final statement of what sets us apart. We are, as Nortec, a member of the Condor Group, committed to your bottom line. Hopefully this webinar showcased some of the tools that we work on and are always working on to ensure that business and the flow of business happens as quickly and as efficiently as possible for you guys. We have tried and true technologies, including a complete product offering, pre-sales support from sales agents and application managers, after-sales support, and finally, we have a lot of forward-thinking tools like the Mentor 3D project and the BIM models that are available for you. I hope that we met our goals here with this webinar, and I did want to open up the floor for a Q&A session. So feel free to use the chat extension here from this tool and submit your questions. We have a question from Jonathan. Can water quality requirements be gone over at some point? So water quality requirements, we have all of that information available. It varies from humidifier to humidifier. In some cases, we require very clean water. Inside the water in order for the humidifier to work. So Jonathan, I would recommend that you send me an email. I'm the middle one here, andrew.patterson@humidity.com. Send me an email and we can see if there are any humidifiers in particular you'd like information on, and I'll definitely follow information that you need. Another question from Joe. He was asking if we could elaborate on the adiabatic system at the New York printing press. How did the system operate during below freezing ambient? So I wasn't a direct part of that project, but I could just speak from experience. In a lot of cases, we do have adiabatic installations that are installed in areas that are very cold outside. And just like in any humidification installation, we have to make sure that we're not going to exterior facing walls. As far as technologies, as far as insulation goes, is one of the main ways that we do that. If you see condensation on windows, that's typically the canary in the coal mine that we might have some issues. Condensation on windows doesn't necessarily mean that we have condensation within the wall space, but it might be an indicator. So in that case, there are ways to get around this, making sure that sensors are located near some of these important areas to make sure we're not over humidifying a space. As far as adiabatic humidification goes, as I mentioned, the ideal location is one that is dry and hot, but it also does have implications, and it has a place when the relative humidity in the external, in the ambient air, is higher. So if there are no other questions that we want to get at this point, I, again, just wanted to highlight the fact that you can get in touch with me personally, andrew.patterson@humidity.com. If you want to get in touch with any of our agents to book an appointment or to book the roadshow, you can get in touch with our lead generation specialist, Juan Colicchio, at humidity.com. On behalf of myself, Pascal, Naomi, and everyone here at Nortec, I want to thank you guys for your time. You gave us an hour of your time. I hope that it was worth your while. Feel free to get in touch with us for any humidification questions that you very much.